Hi there, this is Erin Cooney. Thanks so much for joining me today on the Irish Dance Business Owners Podcast. Today I am joined by Rose McAvoy. She is the founder and director of Bethlehem Traditional Irish Dance, and today we're going to explore the topic of navigating your pregnancy and maternity leave while running your Irish dance school. So Rose, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Erin.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. This is such an important topic, and I think it's going to be so helpful for everyone who's listening today. But before we dive into that, I wanted to ask you just a little bit about your backstory, how you got into Irish dance, what got you started.
So I have been dancing my whole life since I was a little girl, but our dance experience was a little bit different from the typical competitive experience. We started off, my sisters and I, learning from a woman who went to our church, and she was a Sean No style dancer. And she was much older by the time we took classes with her. So she was really only in her last couple of years of offering classes. And her focus was on just teaching the basic traditional jig and reel Sean No style steps and on Ceilidh dancing. She loved Ceilidh dancing. And so we learned our first few steps with her, and we would perform around the community and at parties and things like that. And it just became sort of part of our family tradition and things that we did for fun, and met some of our closest friends that way and had a good time. And then she stopped teaching because, like I said, she was getting older. And at around the same time, there was a woman who had been a competitive dancer out of Trinity in Chicago. And she moved to our area, and she was starting her own dance program. But she very purposely wanted to move away from the competitive world. She and her daughters all competed, and she wanted to start her own style of school in what she called family dance. And she was welcoming to all different ages, and everybody would be in the same class together. And she really focused on performing, and she loved choreography. And this was right around when Rodance was coming onto the scene, so the late 90s. So this is when I was a teenager. I danced with her all through high school. And then when I graduated from college, I took a job as an English teacher at a classical academy in New Hampshire. And it was a really small school just starting up. And we were required to wear a lot of hats, to do a lot of different things. And one of the things we were required to do as teachers was offer an after school program of some kind. And it was up to us what we wanted to offer. So I said, well, I'll teach Irish dance. And I hadn't danced all through college, so it was a way for me to get back into it. And because this was a junior high and high school, all of my students were teenagers, and teenagers learn really fast. So we had a really good time. They learned pretty much everything I knew, it felt like, in the first year. And I was like, uh-oh, I have to learn some new things because I hadn't competed. I had never really gotten very far into hard shoe. And I always tell my students now when they're struggling with hard shoe, I'm like, I get it. I threw my hard shoes at my teacher and said, I can't do this. So I had to have my sister come in and help me. She had competed for a couple of years, so she knew a lot more than me. She did a summer program with us and taught us the basics. And it's been kind of like that from there, where I keep building what I know so that I can pass it on to my students. So I did that for 7 years, and I had a really great group of dancers. And it was just, like I said, an after school program. But by the time my first 7th graders graduated, we were going out into the community and performing and doing things like that I had remembered doing it when I was a teenager. So it had really formed into more of its own program. So then I had my first baby, and I stopped teaching, and we moved back to upstate New York, which is where I grew up. And so that's where we live now, just around the Albany area. And after my second baby was born, when she was about 6 months old, I thought, I think I could do this again. And I'd really like to teach dance. I missed teaching in general. And I knew I couldn't get back into the classroom because I wanted to stay home, and it would be a much bigger jump to go back into full-time teaching. But I thought I could do another little dance program here. And that was hard because I didn't have my built-in group of dancers. So I had to go out into this community that I didn't know and say, hi, you don't know me, but I could teach Irish dance. But I managed to get that rolling. And so that was in 2012. And now almost 10 years later, we have 4 different levels of classes, and we've got adult classes, and 2 of my daughters dance and 2 of my nieces, and my sisters really helped me out a lot, especially when I was starting. I'm one of 7, so I have 5 sisters and 1 brother, and all of the sisters have danced, and most of the sisters have helped me with my own dance school, along with my mother and my mother-in-law, everybody helping with the babies. So that's how we got to this point.
Well, that is awesome to hear about your backstory and your journey to starting your school. So now I'd like to dive in kind of to our main topic today. So you have given birth 3 times over the history of your Irish dance school now, and you just gave birth to twins 2 years ago while still running your Irish dance school. So I'm wondering, how did that work for you? What did that journey look like for you? And how did that maybe change how you were running your business?
Yeah. So every pregnancy was different. I had a toddler and a baby when I started teaching, and that was fine. We could work that out fine. And I only had, 1 or 2 classes because we were just starting. And then I had just expanded into offering classes through the local rec program. It was offered to me because I had a connection. And right when that class started, I found out that I was pregnant with my son. And I thought, it's fine. And I just kept going. And I knew I had my mother's support and my husband's support to get through that pregnancy. And I thought, all right, well, he was due at the end of September, which wasn't perfect timing, but I thought, well, I've got the summer off, and then we'll get the classes started. And I lined up that my sisters would be taking over for me for a certain period of time. And they knew what we were doing and what the goals were. And I knew that I would be able to come back within like 6 weeks and take over again. And so I was trying to see it as, all right, well, if I were at work, I'd have my maternity leave and it would be 6 weeks. And I would have everything set up for me. I'd have my substitutes in there for that period of time. And then I would plan to come back. And it worked out fine with my son. And he was, I was a good baby. Like, I was able to just sort of hand him over and go to my class and come home. And that was great. And then 2 years later, I had my 4th, my daughter, and she was born, terrible timing, beginning of February. I was like, no, it's St. Patrick's Day season. That was not a good plan. But we still got through it. And again, I was like, all right, I'm going to be out. She's due at this time. I'm going to be out, and then I'll come back. And my sisters came and took over and helped me out. And the classes continued while I was gone. And then I came back and it worked out fine. So then the twins came, and that was a huge shock. And what happened actually with both of my last pregnancies that helped me through them was other people being pregnant at the same time. So when my 4th was born, it was the Irish dance baby boom. 3 moms of dancers in my studio were expecting and due at the same time. And all the babies were born in the same month, right around St. Patrick's Day. So that was actually a lot of fun. We kind of like tracked each other. And now all those babies are 5 years old. So it's a lot of fun. And then when I was expecting the twins, I was just like, what am I going to do? I was so sick. And I knew that twins were more complicated, and I was almost 40. And every other baby, I knew I was going to get to 38 to 40 weeks, have the baby, nurse the baby, be fine. I did not have that confidence with the twins, and it didn't turn out that way either. So I was much more worried about how I was going to deal with that. But at the same time that I announced that I was pregnant with twins, there is another studio owner in my area, and she runs like a ballet, tap and jazz studio, and she's helped me out. We've helped each other out in the past with advice, and my girls have gone to her class and her girls have come to my class. She's having twins.
Oh, wow.
She already had 3 kids. So this was, her big surprise twins too. She's almost 40. So we really helped each other out through that time. It was like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And how are you feeling? And what's going on? And so that helped me so much, just to have that, person there doing the same thing as me. So that was actually when I hired somebody and ended up being pregnant as well after she started teaching the class. So it was just like, so I hired her because I thought that she could get me through between her and my sisters. But then my sisters and my mom would just take a look at me every week as things went on. And they were like, you're not gonna make it. And you're gonna have to stop the year early. And I had never stopped classes before. I never wanted to stop classes. But I listened to them and I scheduled the recital a month earlier than I wanted to. And I had the babies 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow.
Early, and I was in the hospital for 10 days. So that went differently than the other pregnancies for sure. So that we ended the year early. And then by the time we came back in the fall, the babies had their setup going on, and I had the babysitters, and I was feeling better. And so we were able to start back up again. And that's how we worked that one out.
And that worked for you, right? Like in the end, you had your recital and then you're able to kind of relax and just be like, I had to make a change to the schedule. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. And everybody was so understanding and so supportive. And
that's so great, because I think we can get stuck in this schedule and feel like everyone's going to be so disappointed, or like, whatever those worries might be for you, we're going to lose out on a month of revenue or whatever. But in the end, like if that's what you need to do is change the schedule, I think that's important for people to hear, to be open-minded about, like, the schedule might just have to change.
Yeah. And it was hard for me to hear too, but I think that I needed to listen to the people around me who had supported me through other pregnancies and, didn't question what my plans were. And that this time they were like, you need to do this and it's going to be fine. And it was fine. So.
So was that the first time you had hired someone to help you with your school?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I'd always taught everything myself and had my sisters like jump in as helpers, but the program had gotten a lot bigger. And so I had hired her to completely take over some of the beginner classes. And then I also hired another woman to teach some of the beginner classes as well. So I was just starting to hit, it seemed like it's happened with the twins and with COVID, is I was just hitting like a big turning point where I was going to jump up another hill, and then twins and then COVID.
Yeah.
But it's been fine for me because this is not a main source of income for us at all. And what's been helpful for me about the business owners page that you run is that there's so much advice and such a wealth of experience that I can choose what works for me, but also be able to say, well, I don't need to do as much as this person is, because that's not what I need my business to be for me. So that's been really helpful.
Totally. And, I know for myself, my business has changed so much over the past 9 years, wanting it to be larger and have more studios and more students. And now we're kind of back to that one room schoolhouse type feeling. And I love it. So it's like every stage has kind of been different for us too. And I love that everyone has those different experiences in our group, and you can kind of change your business according to what your clients want and what you want for your lifestyle and what you want your schedule to look like and how many people you actually want to have employed as well. So that's really neat. Okay. So I'm ready now. I want to know what your advice would be, what your recommendations would be.
Yeah.
So let's say there's someone right now listening who's pregnant. So they might currently be pregnant and be very concerned about the timing of everything. Maybe they're still teaching. They're wondering how long they can keep teaching, throughout their pregnancy, how to plan for that. Cause it's it can feel very unpredictable. You're not sure how your body might handle something, and, mainly focused on the health of yourself and your baby.
Yeah.
And then also just some of those other Irish dance teachers who are like, I want to start having a family, but how do I even go about even thinking about how I could structure this business or teaching, or would I need to take time off, and just like all of the head chaos that goes on with even thinking about that dream for themselves and how they would even manage that.
Yeah. Well, I guess two different things. If you aren't pregnant yet and you're trying to plan a family, if at all possible, maybe take a look at your year and figure out what the best time of year would be to actually get did not do those things. And I should have.
Not February for you.
But if you're already pregnant and you're worried about how it's going to affect your business, it's funny, you can feel, at least for me, I'm always very sick the first trimester, but I can lay around feeling horrible all day, but then when I have to go to class, it's something about the adrenaline of, all right, I gotta go. And, I had experiences with the twins where I threw up on my way out the door and I threw up as soon as I got home. But while I was there, I was fine. And it gives you a reason to get up and take a shower and brush your hair and put on real clothes and move around, which makes you feel better. It really, it helped me through my pregnancies to still be teaching class. And it has helped me through motherhood to be running this school, because it's a way for me to get out of the house and to have something that, is not being a mom, but it really builds my self-esteem. And, you're moving, you're getting exercise, you're dancing to music, which is even better because it just lifts your spirits. I'm creating things and I'm working with students, which I love. I loved teaching. It felt like a real vocation to me. And it's something that I don't know if I could ever get back to full time because of my family. But because of Irish Dance, I still get to be a teacher and I get to have these special relationships with the students and with their parents. And that's really important to me. So, I think that you have to plan for, your pregnancy, whether it's already happened or whether it hasn't happened. And all right, who is going to be the person who's going to take over my classes if that's what I want to do? Or how am I going to plan for taking a scheduled break in my classes? And then once I have the baby, what's the plan going to be for getting back to class? And then, but always remember that you are not in charge of how or when that baby comes, and that everything has to be taken with a grain of salt. And, I had 2 completely uncomplicated pregnancies and births, and then 1 like real monkey wrench. And and that's how, again, it helps to be a part of a community, because so many women business owners have gone through this. And when you make connections with other people, you see how their experiences have gone and what they've been through. This is a special and important time that you need to be there with your baby and for your family.
It is a very special time to be with your baby that first 6 weeks. And that would be my recommendation as well, is, do all you can to have peace of mind for that 6 weeks. If you can take yourself out of the business as much as possible and take care of yourself and bond with the baby.
And know that everybody understand when you're teaching dance, all of your clients are children who have mothers who've had these babies.
Yes.
You have their babies in your class, so they get it.
Yes.
More than anybody. So
yeah, it's fun when you're teaching Irish dance, because so many of the kids are so excited to see the baby. And I know for me too, my dance families gave me like a very specific Irish dance baby shower that was separate from all of my others and things like that. So, and like you said, just realize that your students and your dance families, they often do rally around you and they want to support you as a person as well, and your well-being. And, if something needs to change with the schedule, or if they need to have a teacher that's someone other than you for a few months, that most likely that's going to be okay. It's a short-term solution. They know that the long-term goal is a healthy baby for you and your time with your baby, and that they will understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Rose, I've really enjoyed interviewing you today, and I think this information is going to be so helpful for so many Irish dance teachers. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.